Most people won't respect your presence until they feel your absence. That's the cold truth no one wants to admit. You can be generous, you can be loyal, you can show up every time they call, but as long as you're always there, always available, always giving, you become background noise. Predictable, expected, taken for granted. Modern society has conditioned you to stay longer than you should, to explain yourself, to make excuses for others, to pour energy into broken dynamics. You've been taught that persistence is noble, that tolerance is strength, that enduring mistreatment will somehow earn you respect. But Machiavelli would laugh at that delusion. He knew better. He knew that power isn't earned by begging to be understood. It's seized by knowing when to disappear. True respect doesn't come from confrontation. It comes from control. And nothing screams control louder than the moment you walk away without warning, without apology, without a single ounce of emotion on your face. That's when people start asking questions. That's when they replay the conversations. That's when they realize they lost access to something they thought they owned. You see, people don't change when you explain things. They change when the game ends. They don't reflect when you tolerate. They reflect when your silence replaces your attention. That's the Machiavellian edge, using absence as a weapon, detachment as a signal, walking away not as surrender, but as a calculated move of psychological dominance. And in this video, you're going to learn exactly how to do that. By the end, you won't just understand why walking away works, you'll know when to do it, how to do it, and what kind of power it unlocks. Because in a world full of people screaming to be respected, the one who leaves without a word is the one they never forget. Before we dive in, I say thank you all my supporters. Take a moment to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share this with others who need to see it. Rescue someone today. This channel is not for everyone. It's not for the ones who still believe respect is earned through kindness alone. It's not for those waiting to be chosen, understood, or saved. This is for the few who are done explaining themselves, who are ready to step into psychological control, who want to command respect, not ask for it. Because walking away isn't weakness, it's clarity. And clarity is what separates the powerful from the powerless. If that's what you're here for, subscribe now. Respect doesn't rise from what's present, it surges in what's lost. The moment you remove yourself, your attention, your energy, your warmth, you trigger something no amount of generosity could ever buy: evaluation. People finally begin to measure your worth when they no longer have access to it. You've seen this play out. In dating, the texts slow down. You double message, you stay available, and they vanish. But the moment you stop reaching out, stop chasing, stop responding on cue, they reappear. Why? Because presence doesn't create urgency. Absence does. In business, the employee who's always on standby, always yes sir on call, is overlooked. But the one who sets boundaries, who declines meetings, who takes their time, that's the one who gets asked, not told. That's the one they don't want to lose. In friendships, you're the emotional dump truck, the therapist, the fixer. Until one day you pull back, you go silent, and suddenly they check in, not because they miss you, but because your utility went missing. Absence forces recalibration. It triggers reevaluation. The Machiavellian doesn't beg for respect. He engineers the silence that forces others to reassess his value. He doesn't explain his withdrawal. He lets it speak. Because when you go quiet without warning, when your energy disappears without drama, people notice. They can't help but fill the silence with meaning. Did I do something? Why did they pull back? What changed? That uncertainty is leverage. It makes your presence feel earned, not owed. It reminds people that your access was a privilege, not a given. And it teaches them something essential. You don't stay where you're tolerated. You vanish when you're undervalued. This is psychological warfare at its most elegant. There's no need to argue, no need to announce your boundaries with a megaphone. Just leave the room and watch what collapses in your absence. Machiavelli's principle is simple. He who walks away first defines the relationship. When you're the first to detach, to stop giving, to close the emotional faucet, you dictate the terms. You don't respond to disrespect, you disappear from it. You don't chase clarity, you become it. This is not about emotional withdrawal or bitterness. It's about strategic disengagement. A Machiavellian walkaway is not a tantrum. It's a tactic. A calm, deliberate removal of energy that leaves a vacuum. And in that vacuum, people panic. They realize the gravity of your presence, not by what you gave, but by the silence that followed. You want to be respected? Stop broadcasting your value. Start subtracting it. And when they ask where you went, don't explain. Just smile. Let your absence speak louder than your presence ever could. Strategic walking away versus emotional withdrawal. There's a massive difference between walking away strategically and retreating emotionally. One is power. The other is weakness in disguise. The average person thinks silence is strength, that going quiet during conflict or disappearing after disrespect sends a message. But here's the problem. Most people don't walk away to win. They walk away to be noticed. They leave in a storm, hoping someone chases. That's not strategy. That's emotional leakage. Machiavellian walking away is surgical. Clean, unemotional, no announcement, no drama, no closure required. You walk not because you're wounded, but because you've recalculated. You've seen enough, and you've decided, this is no longer worth your energy. That's the critical distinction. Emotional withdrawal screams, please notice me. Strategic walking away whispers, you've been quietly removed. One hopes for a response. The other expects nothing, because the power is no longer tied to the other person's behavior. It's internal, detached, measured. To master this move, you need three things. One, timing. You don't walk away mid-argument or in the heat of emotion. That's visible, predictable. You walk away when they least expect it. After a compliment, after a calm conversation, after you've shown grace one last time. The goal is not to spark conflict, it's to leave them confused. Why now? That confusion becomes your echo. 2. Detachment. Strategic silence only works when it's real. If you're obsessing in the background, refreshing messages, waiting for them to notice, you've already lost. Machiavellian detachment means you've already mourned the loss before it happens. You've already moved on mentally before the physical act. That's why it hits so hard, because it's clean. Cold, complete. 3. Presence. Yes, presence. Ironically, walking away with power requires that you had presence to begin with, that your energy mattered, that your input was felt. That's why your withdrawal triggers respect, because it creates contrast. If you were never really there, your absence means nothing. But if your presence shaped the dynamic, then your silence rewrites it. Understand this. Ghosting is cowardice. It's avoidance wrapped in anxiety. It's meant to escape discomfort. Machiavellian disengagement is the opposite. It's deliberate. It doesn't hide from confrontation. It simply chooses not to participate in disrespect. It doesn't burn bridges, it relocates power. You don't explain your silence, you don't apologize for your exit, you don't return just because they notice. You walked away calmly, strategically, and the door didn't slam. It locked. Quietly. That's what makes them respect you. Not the silence, but the certainty behind it. Something strange happens when you walk away with calm conviction. The power flips. The very people who overlooked you suddenly become alert. They feel a gap, a silence that isn't filled with anger or desperation, but with indifference. And that, more than anything, terrifies them. Because now they're no longer sure where they stand. When you were present, texting back, explaining yourself, forgiving mistakes, they were comfortable. They thought your presence was guaranteed. But when you withdrew, with no complaint, no breakdown, no warning, you disrupted the script. That's when the chase begins. Not always in obvious ways. They won't necessarily fall to their knees or beg. No, they test your silence. A meme sent randomly, a casual check-in, a like on your post, a comment meant to provoke a reaction. These are not accidents. These are fishing lines. They're trying to re-establish the frame, one where they lead and you follow. But now the tables have turned. See, walking away doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how they see themselves. Because now they're asking, did I miscalculate? Did I lose something valuable? Were they stronger than I thought? That doubt becomes obsession, and what was once taken for granted is now re-evaluated through the lens of loss. Here's where most people fail. They come back too fast. They interpret the chase as a win, and they give access again without conditions. But the Machiavellian knows, respect doesn't come when they return. It comes in how you handle their return. You don't reject them with bitterness. You don't gloat. You don't offer warmth for free. You listen coldly. You observe carefully. You engage strategically. This is not payback. It's recalibration. You ask yourself, have they changed, or are they just uncomfortable with losing? You test their intent. You slow the rhythm. You mirror the distance they once gave you. They now see you, but only because you vanished. And what they once dismissed now looks like discipline. What they once manipulated now feels untouchable. This is the reversal. Walking away didn't end the dynamic, it evolved it. You are no longer the accessible, accommodating version of yourself. You are the controlled, distant, unpredictable version. And that unpredictability creates magnetism. Machiavelli would say, when your silence becomes more powerful than your voice, you've crossed into real control. You didn't force them to chase. You simply made it clear. Access to you is a privilege, never a guarantee. And when they come back, you don't hand that privilege over. You make them earn what they thought they were entitled to. Because now they respect you, not because you raised your voice. Not because you punished them, but because you disappeared without needing to be seen. Here's the final truth most never want to hear. Power belongs to the one who can walk away and mean it. Not threaten, not pretend, mean it. Most people stay too long. In dead friendships, in draining jobs, in relationships that only function if they keep betraying themselves. And do you know why? Because they're terrified of losing access, terrified of being alone. But here's the Machiavellian reversal. Respect doesn't come to those who stay the longest. It comes to those who can leave first. Niccolò Machiavelli understood the psychology of leverage better than anyone. He knew that the one who fears loss is the one most easily controlled. And the one who embraces loss even uses it as a weapon. That person becomes ungovernable. Because if you can't be bribed by belonging, if you don't need their praise to validate your identity, if you're willing to walk away without burning or begging, you become the most dangerous figure in the room. They say love hard, stay loyal. But loyalty without self-respect is slavery. And presence in the wrong place is not virtue, it's self-erasure. If you want to be respected, deeply, unshakably, you must be willing to disappear, to remove your light from places that dim it, to remove your value from people who only see it when it's gone. To say, if this connection depends on me shrinking, then this connection is not worth my presence. This is the fire Machiavelli would leave you with. Your ability to walk away is not weakness, it's your final form. Because when you're willing to lose them, you stop negotiating your worth. You stop asking to be seen. You stop bending, explaining, appeasing, and you start to move like a sovereign, not someone needing permission, but someone who defines the terms of their life. So the next time you're tested, next time your value is questioned, next time your boundaries are bent, remember this: walking away is not the end. It's the beginning of self-defined power. And they will feel your absence far more than they ever respected your presence. This wasn't just a video. It was a weapon. A weapon for anyone tired of being overlooked, overused, or underestimated. Because now you see the truth. Respect is never given to the overly loyal. It's commanded by those willing to walk. If this opened your eyes, if it lit a fire beneath your silence, then you already know. You're not meant to play small. You're meant to master the game. This channel isn't for the passive. It's for the strategic, for those who move in silence and strike with precision. Subscribe now. Join the ones who never beg to be respected, because they've already made themselves unforgettable. Respect doesn't come to the loyal. It comes to the dangerous.